How to get a genuine apology from an avoidant partner. For anyone who's loved an avoidant partner, the silence after a conflict is a familiar, painful echo. You've felt the sting of their emotional distance, the confusion when your pain goes unacknowledged. It seems, "I'm sorry," is a phrase they simply cannot utter. The problem isn't you, and it's not that they don't care. It's that for an avoidant, apologizing isn't about admitting a mistake. It's about, "I am a threat." And that triggers their deepest survival instincts. Apologies mean vulnerability. They mean shame. And most profoundly, they mean the terrifying prospect of being engulfed by their own emotions or yours. This is perceived as an overwhelming danger. It's like trying to hug someone with a broken rib. Your intention is good, but it only causes more pain. Their system simply shuts down or flees. Trying to pressure them, guilt-trip them, or engage in lengthy discussions only reinforces this perceived threat. They close off even more. But there is a way, a path that disarms their defenses, a path that creates the exact safety they need for regret, remorse, and yes, a genuine apology to finally emerge. Here's how you do it. The first crucial step that will immediately begin to shift the dynamic is to communicate your boundary, not their blame. This will instantly disarm them. When an avoidant hurts you, your natural inclination is to explain how they hurt you, to point out their actions, to ask them to see your perspective. For an avoidant, this feels like an attack. It's perceived as an accusation, a demand for their emotional output, and a direct threat to their autonomy. Their nervous system interprets this as an attempt to control their emotions and make them feel bad. When an avoidant feels attacked or controlled, their only response is to withdraw, shut down, or lash out defensively. And you will never get an apology this way. Instead, your communication must pivot entirely to your experience and your boundaries, without attaching blame to them. You are stating a fact about your internal world, not making a judgment about their intentions. This subtle but profound difference is the key to bypassing their defenses. You are not demanding they change. You are simply articulating how you will respond to protect your own well-being. This is an act of powerful self-assertion that avoids triggering their threat response. The language to use centers on your personal experience. You articulate the impact of their actions by describing your feelings, always framing it from your perspective. Instead of attributing blame, you calmly state how their action resulted in your internal experience, such as expressing how their disappearance for days left you feeling anxious and alone. This distinction is vital because attributing blame implies their intentionality and responsibility for your feelings, which avoidance will immediately reject as an attempt to control or guilt-trip them. By contrast, simply stating your internal experience presents an undeniable fact that offers no target for their defense. Next, clearly state your personal consequences or boundaries. This is where you reclaim your power and show them you are not dependent. Following your feeling, you articulate an action you will take to care for yourself, such as needing space or being unable to continue a difficult conversation until you've processed your emotions. This isn't a threat. It's a statement of self-preservation. You are setting a boundary around your needs, not dictating their behavior. This communicates strength, not neediness. Critically, there must be no demand for an apology. This is the make-or-break element that guarantees their defenses are not triggered. You are not asking for an apology. You are not even subtly hinting at it. You are simply declaring your reality and your limits. The moment you introduce the expectation of an apology, even indirectly, you reintroduce the pressure they are wired to flee from. Their apology will come only when it is perceived as their own choice, their own initiative, from a place of genuine internal processing, not external demand. This lack of demand, paradoxically, creates the very space for it to emerge. Think of it like this. An avoidance emotional system is a highly sensitive alarm. When you come at them with blame, even subtle blame, that alarm screams danger and retreat. But when you calmly state what happened, how you felt, and what you need to do for yourself, the alarm doesn't go off. It hears that you are managing your own feelings, respecting your own autonomy, and not trying to control them. This disarms them at a fundamental level, opening the first tiny crack for their own internal processes to begin. You are showing them, through your actions and your words, that their action caused an impact. but you are strong enough to manage your own response without needing them to fix you. This is liberating for them, even if they don't consciously realize it yet, and it lays the groundwork for them to eventually offer that apology. Building on this foundation of clear boundaries, the second powerful strategy is to demonstrate consistent self-sufficiency and stability. This eliminates their biggest fear. This strategy is about action, not words, and it directly tackles the avoidant's greatest fear, being engulfed or suffocated by another's needs. Avoidants are acutely sensitive to neediness. They've often been in relationships where their partner's emotional state seemed entirely dependent on their availability or reassurance. This creates immense pressure for them, triggering their deepest fears of being trapped. As long as they perceive their apology as a key to your emotional well-being, they will withhold it. To get an apology, you must demonstrate, through your consistent behavior, that your well-being, your happiness, and your emotional stability are not contingent on their apology or their emotional input. This doesn't mean becoming cold or indifferent. It means operating from a place of genuine self-reliance. This will remove the pressure that has always prevented their apology. To guarantee their apology, act, don't implore. After you've communicated your boundary, follow through. Continue to live your life. Engage in your hobbies, spend time with friends, focus on your work, and genuinely care for yourself. If you said you needed space, take it. If you said you couldn't discuss it further, don't bring it up again until they initiate from a place of genuine openness. You are demonstrating, not just stating, your independence. This helps to remove the apology trap perception. When an avoidant doesn't apologize and you proceed to fall apart, become visibly distraught, or constantly try to re-engage them in the conflict, their unconscious mind interprets this as confirmation that you need their apology to be okay. If they apologize, they're giving you power and opening the door to more demands. This is why they won't apologize. Your emotional stability, conversely, sends a different message, that you are okay regardless of their actions. Their apology isn't a life raft for you. It's not a transactional exchange for your emotional well-being. Essentially, be a lighthouse, not a chasing ship. You are a steady, reliable lighthouse, always present, always shining your light, your authentic self, your boundaries, your values. You are not a ship desperately chasing another ship, changing course based on every movement of the avoidant. They need to know that if they sail away, the lighthouse will still be there, strong and unmoving, but it won't chase them. This creates a secure base for them to return to because they know their distance won't be punished and their return won't be met with desperate demands. This sense of security for them is precisely what will allow them to step forward with an apology. When an avoidant witnesses your consistent self-sufficiency, two critical things happen that directly lead to an apology. First, their pressure valve decreases. The immense pressure they feel to fix or be responsible for your emotions diminishes. This frees up mental and emotional space for them to actually feel remorse, rather than just defend against it. Second, they begin to feel curious and safe. They start to wonder why you aren't chasing them, why you aren't upset in the way others have been. What's different? This genuine curiosity, born from a lack of perceived threat, is a crucial step towards introspection and, ultimately, an apology. You are showing them that their apology, when it comes, will be a gift of connection, not a payment for your emotional stability, making it safe for them to offer. Now, once you've established these foundations of clear boundaries and demonstrated stability, the third critical strategy comes into play, giving space and time for internal reflection. This will force their own conscience to act. Avoidants need space, not just from you, but critically, from their own overwhelming emotions. When a conflict occurs, and especially when their actions have caused hurt, an avoidant's immediate internal response isn't necessarily malice. It's often a complex cocktail of shame, guilt, and intense discomfort. However, because they lack the tools or the safety to process these feelings with you, they internalize them, and those feelings become another threat that drives them to withdraw. As long as you are present, trying to force a resolution, they cannot access their remorse. This strategy is about creating the necessary psychological distance for them to process these feelings on their own, without your presence as a perceived trigger or judge. This is the period when their own conscience will begin to work on them. You must withdraw emotionally, not punitively. You are not giving them the silent treatment as a punishment or a manipulation tactic. You are genuinely taking a step back to manage your own emotional state, and in doing so, you are inadvertently giving them the exact space they need. It's about being warm but unbothered. Your withdrawal needs to be a confident self-assertion, not a hurt retreat designed to elicit a chase. This non-punitive space is essential for their internal processing. This harnesses the power of their own internal monologue. When you give them space, you leave them alone with their thoughts and feelings. Without your direct presence to deflect from, their internal system is forced to confront what happened. They might replay the interaction, reevaluate their actions, and, crucially, experience the discomfort of their own conscience. This is where genuine guilt, regret, or even a sense of loss can begin to surface. This process cannot happen while you are actively present, trying to talk it out or make them see. Your presence, even well-intentioned, often provides a convenient target for their deflections, or a reason for their system to stay in defense mode, effectively blocking any apology. Think of this space as a decompression chamber for their nervous system. After the perceived threat of emotional intensity or conflict, they need time in a low-stimulus environment to reset. Only when their emotional alarm system quiets down can they begin to access the more nuanced feelings like remorse. This is why immediate, intense conversations are so counterproductive. You are trying to force a conversation in the middle of a red alert, and this will never result in a genuine apology. This strategy leverages a core aspect of avoidant psychology. They often process and come to conclusions internally and in solitude. By giving them this space, you are not abandoning them. You are giving them the conditions they require to do their own internal work. And when that internal work culminates in a realization of their impact and a desire to make amends, they will come forward with an apology. Finally, the critical fourth strategy, creating a safe path for the apology. This is how you get them to deliver it. This is where the direct outcome materializes. Even when an avoidant processes their feelings and feels remorse, delivering a traditional apology, heartfelt, direct, acknowledging fault, and promising change, can still be incredibly difficult, if not impossible, due to their ingrained fear of vulnerability. Expecting a dramatic apology will lead to constant disappointment and will prevent them from offering what they can. Your role here is to create a clear, non-threatening runway for their apology, no matter how subtle, and to receive it in a way that encourages, rather than shuts down, their tentative steps towards vulnerability. You must observe the subtle signals that are their apology. Avoidants rarely offer grand, declarative apologies. Instead, look for acts of service. They might do something helpful for you, unasked, as a way to show care and implicitly apologize for the hurt. This is their practical way of making amends. Watch for indirect acknowledgement. Phrases like, being sorry things have been so difficult lately, or knowing they haven't been themselves, or thinking about what happened. These are their versions of taking responsibility for the situation, if not for their specific actions. This acknowledges your discomfort without the full, terrifying weight of direct blame. Change in behavior is the most powerful and consistent apology from an avoidant. It's often a sustained change in the specific behavior that caused you pain. They might not verbalize their regret for ignoring your texts, but they might start responding more promptly without being asked. This is them showing you their regret. Small gestures of affection or connection are also significant. An unexpected text checking in, a warm touch, an invitation to spend time together. These are their ways of re-establishing connection and implicitly expressing regret for the distance or hurt. A statement of regret for your feelings can be a huge step for them, even if it doesn't directly say they're sorry they made you feel that way. It acknowledges your pain without them having to fully own their direct causality, which is less threatening and therefore more achievable for them. Once you observe these signals, you must receive and not pressure to get more. When these subtle signals appear, your response is critical to solidify their apology and encourage future openness. Acknowledge with gratitude, not demand. A simple thank you or appreciation is sufficient. Do not follow it up with validation-seeking or time-related complaints or demands for future guarantees. Any hint of turning their tentative vulnerability into a demand for more will immediately trigger their defenses and shut them down, making them regret their attempt at apology. Resist the urge to rehash. This is not the time to open up the entire wound again and demand a full breakdown of their actions. The apology, in whatever form it comes, is a fragile sprout. If you stomp on it by demanding more, it will wither, and you will teach them that apologizing is unsafe. Finally, maintain your own stability. Your continued emotional stability and lack of desperation reinforce that their apology was a genuine choice, not a necessity for your well-being. This validates their autonomy and makes future, deeper apologies or acts of vulnerability more likely. Understanding these characteristics is vital. It's about recognizing their efforts, no matter how small or unconventional, as their genuine attempt to connect and repair. If you dismiss their subtle gestures because they don't fit your preconceived notion of an apology, you'll close the very door you worked so hard to open, and they will learn that apologizing is never safe for them. Now you might be asking, why does this strategy work? Why does this approach break through where everything else fails? This isn't just about getting an apology. It's about fundamentally altering the psychological landscape of your interactions with an avoidant, compelling them to apologize. This counterintuitive strategy works because it meticulously addresses the core fears and defense mechanisms that have always prevented their apologies, and instead systematically creates the conditions where an apology is the only natural next step. Your strategy uniquely disarms their defenses by eliminating perceived threat, thereby forcing vulnerability. The fundamental reason avoidants avoid intimacy, and by extension apologies, is a deep-seated fear of threat to their autonomy and emotional safety. Traditional attempts to get an apology, demanding, guilt-tripping, overwhelming with emotion, are perceived as direct assaults on this core need. They trigger the avoidance fight-or-flight response, leading to withdrawal, defensiveness, or emotional shutdown. Your new strategy, however, operates differently. By focusing on your boundaries, demonstrating self-sufficiency, giving space, and accepting subtle apologies, you systematically remove these perceived threats. There's no emotional trap to fall into, no engulfment to fear, no direct accusation to defend against. This lack of threat forces their nervous system to gradually move out of constant red alert mode, making vulnerability not just possible, but the path of least resistance. Moreover, this approach creates the essential space for genuine internal processing, compelling their remorse to surface. Avoidants often struggle with direct emotional confrontation and processing emotions in real time with a partner. When they cause hurt, they experience an uncomfortable cocktail of guilt, shame, and anxiety, but their default mechanism is to suppress or rationalize these feelings or project them outwards. Your strategy provides the crucial space and lack of external pressure required for these internal feelings to come to the forefront. When they're not busy defending themselves against your demands or emotions, they're left alone with their thoughts and the internal dissonance created by their actions. This solitude, free from external judgment, is where true introspection must begin. The noise of your demands stops, and their internal turmoil can slowly begin to subside, allowing for genuine remorse to build and eventually demand expression. Crucially, this entire dynamic validates their autonomy, making the apology their undeniable choice. A core tenet of avoidant psychology is the fierce protection of their independence and autonomy. They deeply resent feeling controlled or manipulated. When you demand an apology, you are, in their eyes, attempting to control their emotional output. This immediately creates resistance. By contrast, when you set a boundary and then step back, living your own life without demanding anything, you implicitly communicate that their apology is not something you can force. It must come from them, by their own free will. This validates their autonomy. When an apology does emerge, it is perceived as their own choice, their own initiative, and therefore feels authentic and safe for them to offer. This shift from forced compliance to chosen expression is profoundly powerful for an avoidant, making their apology not just possible, but a highly probable outcome. Furthermore, your emotional stability becomes a safe harbor, actively drawing their apology out. Avoidants are often drawn to secure partners precisely because of their emotional stability and lack of neediness. When you implement this strategy, you embody these secure attachment traits. You are demonstrating that you are capable of holding your own emotional space, setting boundaries, and maintaining your well-being, regardless of their actions. This isn't just good for you, it's also incredibly reassuring for them. Your stability signals that you are a safe person to be vulnerable with because you won't collapse, you won't demand, and you won't retaliate. This creates a secure base, a lighthouse that they know they can navigate towards. Your groundedness makes their own tentative steps towards intimacy, including an apology, feel less risky, because they see a partner who can truly accept them, flaws and all, without becoming a bottomless pit of emotional needs. This safety is the magnetic force that will draw out their apology. And finally, this strategy definitively breaks the cycle of self-sabotage and validation, forcing a new response. Often, avoidants unconsciously create dynamics that confirm their deepest fears, that intimacy is dangerous, that people are too demanding, that they are better off alone. When you react with traditional behaviors like chasing, demanding, or getting overly emotional, you inadvertently validate their avoidant worldview. Your struggle confirms their belief that relationships are too much. This strategy, however, breaks that cycle entirely. By refusing to play into their established scripts, you present a new, unfamiliar dynamic. You are saying that you will not confirm their belief that intimacy is dangerous by becoming demanding. You will show them that it is possible to connect without losing yourself, and without them losing yourself. This disruption forces them to reevaluate their ingrained beliefs, opening a window for growth and, crucially, for genuine remorse to be felt and expressed. The apology becomes the natural conclusion to this new, healthier interaction pattern. The effectiveness of this approach lies in its ability to respect the avoidance wiring while simultaneously protecting your own needs and boundaries. It's a sophisticated dance of detachment and presence, designed to create the optimal psychological conditions that guarantee the emergence of a genuine connection and the elusive apology. Now that you understand how this approach works, it's essential to know what an avoidance apology actually looks like, because managing your expectations is key to successfully accepting it. Once you apply this strategy, an apology will come. But if you're expecting a dramatic, tearful, movie scene apology where they fall to their knees, begging for forgiveness and detailing every nuance of their wrongdoings, you will be perpetually disappointed and you'll miss the apology when it arrives. It's crucial to manage your expectations, to recognize it when it happens, and to not inadvertently shut down their fragile yet genuine attempt. First, it will be subtle and indirect. This is perhaps the most common characteristic. It might not be a direct apology for a specific action. It could be general regret that things have been so difficult lately, or acknowledging they haven't been themselves. They might apologize for the situation or the outcome, rather than specifically for their action or its impact on you. This is their way of acknowledging the discomfort without having to fully embrace the vulnerability of admitting direct fault. It's a step, a bridge, not a full confession, but it is their apology. Second, it will be action-oriented, not just words. For many avoidants, actions speak louder and are safer than words. An apology will manifest as a sustained change in behavior. If they ghosted you, their apology might be consistent, proactive communication for a period. If they were critical, they might start offering compliments or support without being asked. This behavioral apology, though unspoken, can be incredibly meaningful and, in many ways, more reliable than a verbal one. Recognize these acts of service or changes in routine as their unequivocal way of showing regret and trying to do better. Third, it will be delayed, often significantly. Don't expect an immediate apology. The process of disarming their defenses, giving them space for internal processing, and then allowing their remorse to surface and form into some kind of expression takes time. It could be hours, days, weeks, or even months after the initial incident. This delay isn't a sign of callousness. It's a testament to the slow and arduous journey their system takes to navigate vulnerability. Your continued demonstration of self-sufficiency during this delay is vital. It's what allows them the time and safety to come to this conclusion. Fourth, it will be followed by a slight retreat. This is a crucial, often misunderstood pattern. Once an avoidant has offered some form of apology or made a vulnerable gesture, they often feel a surge of intense vulnerability. This can be overwhelming. As a result, they might instinctively pull back again shortly after. This isn't them regretting the apology. It's their nervous system needing to decompress and re-regulate after an intense emotional exposure. It's their way of recovering from taking a big step. Resist the urge to chase them or demand more connection during this temporary retreat. Give them the space, and they'll likely re-engage when they feel safe again, having successfully navigated their own apology. And fifth, it will focus on future prevention, not past dwelling. If an apology in any form does open a door for a conversation, avoidants are much more comfortable discussing solutions and future plans than rehashing past hurts. While validating your feelings in the moment is important, quickly pivot the conversation to how you can prevent this from happening again or what you can do differently next time. This future-oriented approach feels less threatening to their autonomy and their fear of being stuck in difficult emotions. It shows them you're interested in partnership and growth, not just blame. And this is what makes their apology feel safe and effective for them. Now, while this strategy is incredibly powerful and will consistently yield results where traditional methods fail, it is crucial to understand its limitations. This isn't a magic wand for every single relationship scenario, and your emotional well-being must remain your absolute priority. This strategy provides the exact conditions for an avoidant to reliably apologize and engage more vulnerably in a specific situation. It is not a therapy session, and it will not fundamentally change their core avoidant attachment style overnight, or even over months. Their wiring is deeply ingrained. While consistent application over time can foster more secure behaviors and internal processing for them, it's a slow journey that they must ultimately choose for themselves. Your role is to create the environment that allows them to apologize, not to fix them as a person. This strategy also does not excuse or enable abusive behavior. This is a critical distinction. Understanding why an avoidant behaves a certain way, their fears, their defense mechanisms, is not the same as accepting that behavior if it is consistently harmful, disrespectful, or abusive. Your strategy is for navigating typical avoidant deactivation, emotional distance, or subtle hurts. It is not for situations involving gaslighting, verbal abuse, manipulation, constant neglect, or any behavior that consistently undermines your self-worth and safety. If you are experiencing abuse, the strategy is not to create space for an apology. It is to create space from the relationship. Your well-being is paramount. You must also recognize fundamental incompatibility when this approach does not lead to enough. Even with the most perfect application of this strategy, some avoidants may never be able to meet your fundamental needs for emotional intimacy, communication, or direct acknowledgement to a degree that satisfies you. If you consistently find yourself compromising your core needs, walking on eggshells, or feeling profoundly disconnected despite your best efforts, you might be facing a fundamental incompatibility in attachment styles or emotional capacity. This approach will get you an apology, but it might not get you the depth of consistent connection you yearn for. Not every relationship is meant to be. This is not a failure on your part, nor necessarily on theirs. It's simply a mismatch in what two individuals need to feel secure and loved. Continuing to invest in a relationship that drains you, even if you understand the why, is not self-love. And most importantly, prioritize your own emotional well-being above all else. The ultimate goal of learning these dynamics is to empower you. It's about giving you tools to navigate challenging relationships more effectively and to protect your own emotional health. If, after applying this strategy consistently, you still feel drained, unfulfilled, constantly anxious, or unseen, then the most loving thing you can do for yourself is to reevaluate the relationship. Your happiness, your peace, and your sense of worth are not conditional on an avoidance apology or their capacity for change. The greatest act of self-love is to choose relationships where your love is experienced as safety, not a threat, and where apologies, when needed, come from a place of genuine connection, not forced vulnerability. Remember, you cannot love someone into feeling safe if their nervous system is fundamentally incompatible with the level of intimacy you require. This strategy will consistently unlock their capacity to apologize, but it will not transform them into a fully secure partner if that is not within their individual path. Your job is to understand what this approach achieves and then to choose if that outcome, in combination with all else, is enough for your sacred emotional health. You've embarked on a path of understanding that most people never dare to take. You've learned that the path to a genuine apology from an avoidant is paved not with demands, but with unwavering self-respect, clear boundaries, and the strategic removal of perceived threats. You now possess the precise method that effectively disarms their deepest fears and creates an environment where their vulnerability, however subtle, can safely emerge, compelling them to apologize. The key lies in your own strength, your ability to calmly state your needs, to demonstrate your self-sufficiency, to give space without punishment, and to recognize and appreciate their subtle gestures of remorse. You have the power to break the cycle of unmet emotional needs and one-sided frustration, not through force, but through strategic understanding. True connection happens when there's safety for both sides, and for an avoidant, that safety means the profound relief of not being pressured, not being blamed, and being allowed to come to their own conclusions in their own time. It means their apology, when it does arrive, and it will, is a gift freely given, not an obligation fulfilled, and that makes all the difference. Have you experienced the challenge of getting an authentic apology from an avoidant partner? Perhaps you've tried some of these approaches, or you're planning to implement them in your relationship. Share your experiences in the comments below. Your insights could provide valuable guidance for others facing similar situations. If this content helped you understand avoidant attachment patterns and gave you practical tools for creating genuine connection, please like this video, subscribe for more relationship strategies that actually work, and share it with anyone who might benefit from this understanding. Thanks for watching.